It's time once again to slip into your camo, grab your bow, and join us out in the field for another episode of the Up North Journal, presented by PSE Archery. The Up North Journal crew is knocked and ready to rock for another exciting adventure. So let's step outside and hit the trail.
This episode of the Up North Journal podcast is brought to you by PSE Archery,
Black Eagle Arrows,
Scent Blocker,
Killer Food Plots,
Cabela's,
Spot Shooters,
Antler Action,
Family Traditions Tree Stands,
Tom's Custom Turkey Calls,
and Badass Slingshots.
Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal, everybody. I'm host Mike Adams, sitting in the cabin on, well, it's what's supposed to be Easter Sunday.
Twas the week before Easter Sunday.
It was the Sunday night before Easter Sunday. We're pre-recording this show just because it's Easter Sunday and we want to allow everybody to have time with their families, but we also want to give you a little something you could listen to during the week. So,
absolutely. We can't let you go without hearing our beautiful voices.
Well, I don't know about that.
Oh, hey, man. Mine sounds awesome. I don't know about you.
But, we hope you guys are enjoying the outdoors. And we know turkey season's ramping up here coming up. Danny and I are going to be getting out, and I'm going to be chasing birds with him. Well, actually, you'll be chasing the birds. I'll have a camera.
Right, and that'll be starting the following day as you hear this, and hopefully the weather will be good.
Absolutely. So I tell you what, we're going to step outside. We're going to take a quick break. We come back. We're going to have an interview for you. We'll talk about that here in just 1 second. We'll be right back after this.
PSE Archery has always dominated the speed category. Now, the most revolutionary cam system ever to hit the market has perfected the shooting experience. Introducing PSE's Evolve Cam System, featuring extremely high let-off capabilities and the smoothest draw cycle in history. No other cam system has ever delivered this level of total comfort and total control. Experience PSE. Experience performance.
Throughout human history, one notorious killer has remained at the top and claimed more lives than any war or natural disaster combined. Mosquitoes. It's time to arm yourself and protect your family this season with Scent Blocker's new Bug Blocker for insects. Lasting up to 8 hours, Bug Blocker not only repels biting mosquitoes that can carry the West Nile virus, but other biting insects, including chiggers, biting flies, gnats, and ticks which can carry Lyme disease. Field tested by outfitters and guides from Alaska to Alabama and everywhere in between. The results are in, and Bug Blocker flat out works. In a high-potency sportsman strength dosage, using 25% no-nonsense DEET, plus 2 specific ingredients to target biting flies, Bug Blocker plays for keeps. For ultimate protection, pair Bug Blocker insects with Bug Blocker ticks.
Welcome back, everybody. Right before we went to break, told you about an interview. We got Dan Taylor on from Hilde Hunting Services.
You met this gentleman at the SCI Club?
Yeah, the Flint SCI annual banquet this year.
That's
yeah,
what it was. Yep.
Yeah, about a month ago. And he's located right here in South Central Michigan, real close to us.
Right here in Holly, Michigan, he's located, but he hunts basically from the thumb down to the state line.
Absolutely.
And everything in between.
Yeah, you want to hunt it, he can get you on it.
He can get you on it, whether it flies, runs,
Crawl,
gobbles.
swim, it'll die.
It'll die. He'll get you on it.
All right, so without further ado, here's our little interview that we had with Dan.
Back for another segment of the Up North Journal, and in this segment, we're going to be doing an interview with a master guide right here locally to us in Holly, Michigan, Dan Taylor from Hilde Hunting Services. You met this gentleman at the Safari Club banquet.
Yeah, the annual banquet here
right,
a couple weeks ago.
And found out that he's local. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
No problem. You know, it's always good to have somebody local on.
Absolutely.
You know, and when we're talking local, you're talking guiding for waterfowl, you're talking turkey, you're talking whitetails, and you're talking coyotes.
That's right up our alley, man.
It is. I like that. Especially with turkey season just around the corner.
It is, yeah.
So, hey, Dan, how long have you been doing that? How long has Hilde Hunting Services been in business?
Well, I started it 15 years ago. As I graduated from high school, I was kind of looking different directions on what I wanted to do. And I had a lot of hunting land, and I'm like, man, I love to hunt, and I would like to make this my job. So I just kind of started small. My dad owns a big taxidermy shop in southeast Michigan, Hilde Taxidermy. And I used to always come in the shop with my ducks and my geese, and, the customers at my dad's place would be like, hey, where did you get all those birds, And I would say, oh, just down the road. And they said, hey, man, I'll give you $100 to take me out and go shoot birds like that. And, as an 18-year-old kid, I'm like, hey,
right on.
That sounds like
Absolutely.
So that's kind of how it all started. And then it just kind of snowballed from there.
So your dad's got Hilde Taxidermy. So as a youngster, you definitely grew up around the animals. How did the hunting and waterfowling get into your blood?
Well, I was sitting in a duck blind with my dad at 3 years old, and sitting there and watching everything. And I was a sportsman with my father for years. I mean, I started like all of us, hunting squirrels. And, when I was 14, my dad took me to Africa, and that kind of really installed the passion in my life. And then I was lucky enough that my dad took me all over the country. I was up in Saskatchewan and shooting black bears at a young age. And, I've worked in camps up in Alberta and out in New Mexico. And so it's kind of been instilled in my blood. When I turned 16 and I got my driver's license, that's when stuff really got crazy. And I really started door knocking and get permission. And, it's kind of started to make hunting my life.
Right on. Now, you said knocking on doors. Did you ever get nervous going up and knocking on doors? I mean, was it ever a problem, or did it just kind of come to you naturally? Because I know when we take our kids, it's kind of hard sometimes. What's that?
Yeah, it kind of came to me naturally. You see a spot with lots of deer and turkey in someone's field, and I was kind of like, hey, I want to hunt there.
Yeah.
Why am I going to hunt the state land down the road when I can hunt that field with full of animals?
Right.
So it kind of came really easy for me. And, it's like everyone, you have your ups and your downs, you get your yeses and your nos. But I started to realize, you get one yes per 10 no's, and that one yes can, create a lot of good success.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You've been up to, you said, to Canada. You've been to Africa. At a young age. That kind of, like you said, formed your hunting background, so to speak. How did you take that and incorporate that into what you're doing now today? I mean, what did you bring from those experiences to what you're doing now?
Well, all those hunts are fully guided hunts, so I got to see all aspects of the game. I got to grow up, and I got to learn how outfitters treat their clients, their hunters, and also the animals, how they take care of the animals, they take care of their hunting lands. And also in all these hunts, you see how the outfitters relate to the landowners. So in doing this, I really got to see how the whole hunting industry works, and how you gain permission from the landowners, how you treat the landowners, how leases work, how to do game management. And then as my dad being a taxidermy, I got to see the finish process of all of this,
And looking at that, you talk about the hunting industry. There's so many people out there, especially nowadays. They look at what we do, look at what you do, and they're like, well, that's easy. I could do that. And then they don't really realize the behind the scenes work that goes on. I mean, like in your case, going and knocking on those doors, or getting leases, or setting up things, and making sure you got all the equipment to get out and get your what am I trying to say? The people who want to go hunting with you,
right, to
get them out into the field. You just don't show up at some guy's door and jump in his truck and go out and go hunting.
No,
That's true. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of legwork to go with all that, and people skills, and then the knowledge of the animals and the land. I mean, there's a lot to it. You can't just say I want to be a guide and go out and kill animals and make people happy. You definitely got to be well-rounded with everything.
A lot of boots on the ground, scouting, planning.
Absolutely. As of right now, I have 4 guys that work for me full-time, and that's all they do is scout. I handle all my leases. I lease over 16,000 acres. And like I said, I lease ground from all the way down to the southern tip of Michigan by Dundee, all the way up past the Thumb. So that being said, that's a lot of land to have to watch, maintain, scout. And like I said, I got 4 guys that do that for me all season long, which helps get me on top of, the animals that we're hunting, and makes my hunters successful.
Absolutely. And, one of the big things, this isn't just, turkey season's in a month in Michigan. I'm going to start today. This is a 365-day business.
Absolutely.
Looking at turkey hunting right now, if somebody let's talk a little bit about your business now. If somebody listens to the show is like, oh, you know what, that sounds like fun. I've never been turkey hunting before. I don't know what to do, so maybe I want to get a hold of his guide service and go out and have them help me along. I mean, that'd be a great way to learn how to turkey hunt, number one. But, how would they get in touch with you and, talk a little bit about maybe a turkey hunt and what all is involved?
Okay, well, the great thing about me is I hunt in southern Michigan, and they give out so many private land licenses now that you don't have to go into a draw or anything. All the licenses for the areas that I hunt are over the counter, so you don't have any application or anything like that. So you can kind of decide at the drop of a hat when you want to go with me if I have available date. So what someone would do is they would contact me at my phone number, 248-909-1512. I would discuss available dates that I have. There's actually 2 seasons for my area in most of Michigan. It starts April 17th, and it goes to the end of April. That's the first season. And the second season goes from May 1st to May 31st.
Okay.
So you just contact me and get an available date for me. Once you have your date, my turkey hunts are 3 days. It's a 3-day hunt. I am 100% opportunity on all my turkey hunts since I've been in business. And that is because I lease so much ground. When you have as much ground as I do, we just go from farm to farm to farm. We hunt turkeys all day long.
So you better be planning on moving, unless you're lucky enough to get one right away.
Well, and I usually guide almost every day of the season. So that being said, I'm out in the woods every day. I know where all the turkeys are at, and so that actually helps our success a lot more, too, being in the field every day.
Now, are your hunts, like for the turkey hunts, are they a run and gun style, or are they a pop-up blind style, or just a sit up against a tree style? What do you offer?
Well, we offer everything.
Okay.
I've handicapped kids out. I've taken veterans out, so in that type of case, we do tent blinds majorly of the time. But we run and gun too. My preferred method is we hunt off a roost in the morning. I'll scout the birds the day before. I'll know what part of the field or area that they're hanging out in. We'll sit there for an hour or so, and if our plan doesn't come together, then we do the run and gun.
Okay.
And we'll keep going to different farms, and with the amount of private land that I have, we're going to eventually find a gobbler that's receptive.
Okay.
Once we find a gobbler that's receptive, we'll get it into range and try to make it happen.
Then it's up to you to shoot it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Now, obviously, during the summer months, there's probably not a lot going on, but, then we get into waterfowl season, and then we get into deer season, and then eventually predator hunting. Talk a little bit about those style of hunts that you have available.
Well, yeah, I start the very first waterfowl season that we have is the early goose season. This year it's going to be September 1st through the 30th. How that season works is I book that solid the whole season. We hunt every day. We start with the wheat fields, winter wheat. Basically, the first week we hunt winter wheat. After that, the winter wheat starts to grow up so tall that the birds kind of stop going to it. So then we kind of move south. In my southern farms, they start chopping corn for the silage for cows. They start doing that about the 1st of September. So usually by the second week of goose season, I have fresh corn cut, and then we start hunting the corn. After about the second week, then we move back up north towards my homestead in Holly, and then we'll start hunting the cow pastures and the winter wheat fields because the migrant birds will start coming down from Canada. We call them the molt. It's the young geese that are starting to migrate from Canada early. Okay. And like I said, usually by about September 12th or 13th, we get that first batch of migrants in. When this happens, it's good goose hunting everywhere. And so that really is like the peak of our season is about September 15th.
Okay. Now, do you do any water hunts at all?
Yep. Any what? Water hunts?
Yeah. Or are you mostly...
We do a little bit, but we primarily hunt the fields.
Okay.
And that is because it's so much better hunting in the fields because of the numbers of birds. Usually, where I'm at, it's an open county, and there's lots of water everywhere. So you don't get the density of the birds on the water because they're spread out to every little wet spot.
Gotcha.
So when you hunt the fields, you're kind of getting the highest concentration of birds.
Okay, right on. All right, now we've talked about the birds. What about what do you offer for deer hunts? I mean, are we talking tree stand hunts? Are we talking ground hunts, blind hunts? What do you have to offer people for those style hunts?
I have everything. I have elevated box blinds insulated with heaters. I got ladder stands. I have tent blinds. We have, hang-on stands. I do anything that a guy wants to do. But, my whitetail hunts are very limited. I only allow 15 guys a year. I book up every year for my whitetail hunts, and that is because we're hunting very mature deer. We're not over-hunting our farms. They're all quality deer management. We're shooting 3.5-year-old deer and up. Generally, those deer are scoring 130 and up.
Okay.
2 years ago, we killed a 186-inch deer off one of my farms.
Nice.
And it was a 14-year-old young man out of a tent blind.
Gotta like that.
There you go.
So people say there's not big deer in Michigan. Baloney.
Yeah. They're there.
Right on.
That's for sure.
Now we get into this late season. After deer seasons, we put everything away, But man, I'm still having that itch to get out. You said you offer some coyote hunts as well.
Well, and actually, when you start talking late season, we actually do the late goose season too, which gives sportsmen, great chance to get after geese in January and February. So I do that north of Flint, where there's open water year round, and we hunt the cornfields up there. So we'll do the late goose season, and then we'll kind of phase in the coyote hunting there as the snow progresses.
Okay.
As I'd mentioned before to you, I know when we had talked, we track and push the coyotes.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to have fresh snow to track them and push them. So obviously it depends on the accumulation of snow on how much coyote hunting we've done. Unfortunately, this year we didn't get to do as much as we normally like to do, hence we haven't had very much snow.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this whole year's been a little different.
Weird.
Well, I tell you what, we're kind of running up here on our break time, but I want to give everybody an opportunity once again. Tell everybody where they can find you at or get a hold of you at, so that way, if they're interested in booking a hunt with you, they can get a hold of you.
Absolutely. They do a lot with Safari Club. You can go on Safari Club's website, either the Detroit, Flint, or Lansing, and you can pull up my information there on the Safari Club website, or you can contact me directly on my cell phone, which is 248-909-1512.
All right.
And again,
There you
my
go.
name is Taylor, and I'm the owner of Hilde Hunting Services.
Doesn't get any better than that. You want to
Nope.
book a hunt, you get a hold of Dan, he'll take care of you.
That's right.
Well, I tell you what, we appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your Sunday evening, being able to sit down and talk with us about what you got to offer. And for anybody that's interested, make sure you get a hold of them and get a hunt or a trip booked here in Michigan.
That's right.
Thanks again, Dan.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, man.
I tell
Ready
you
to go
what,
hunting now?
I'm ready to go hunting. Let's put a fork in this one and let's get out and go do some hunting.
I'm ready, man. It's been a long time coming. Deer season seems like a million miles ago. But turkey season's here, buddy.
Let's go.
I hope tomorrow morning at sunrise, I hope we got a gobbler strutting in for you, and we're able to get it on film, and you've got one in the freezer.
If it ends up in less than 10 minutes, let's have to do this.
All right. Hey, folks, we hope you guys had a great week. We hope you had a really great Easter. The whole holy season came through this week, Good Friday, the whole 9 yards. So, with that, spend time with your family. That's what's important. Get out there in the woods, show them how it's done, share it with somebody, and get out there. And as we always say here at the Up North Journal, if you're out on the water or in the woods, shoot straight and be safe until next week. This episode was brought to you by PSC Archery,
Black Eagle Arrows,
Scent Blocker,
Killer Food Plots,
Cabela's,
Spot Shooters,
Antler Action,
Family Traditions Tree Stands,
Tom's Custom Turkey Calls,
and Badass Slingshots.
Thanks for listening, and join us again here next week. Until then, remember, as we always like to say, if you're out on the water or in the woods, shoot straight and be safe until next week on the Up North Journal.